if you're having negative thoughts and you're trying to reframe them into positive ones, there's a good chance that you're looking at everything that is wrong. Well, gang, welcome back to another growth talk. Today, we're going to talk about something I call perspective checking. So you can make sure that you're not turning a positive into a negative or vice versa. Now, this topic came to me actually around Christmas time. This year was a weird time for me for the holidays. Um, I wasn't in the position I would like to be in around those times, financially, mentally, like across the spectrum. I was not where I wanted to be. It made it a tough time, and I wasn't able to show up for my people the way that I like to. So it was a tough time. Also, my mom is she's with somebody new who I haven't had a lot of interactions with due to moving out of the country. So when Christmas dinner came around, usually like I would love to host Christmas dinner. I make sure that my home is that place. You know what I mean? But so this year, yeah, I mean things are a little off. We won't get into the depths of it all, but things are definitely off. They're not what they usually are. So this year we had dinner at my mom's house, or more specifically at the new fella's house, and it was awkward. Like there was a lot of emotions that came up around that time. You know what I mean? Especially like me just not feeling like a man. I guess is the easiest way to say it. There's no point in beating around the bush. I just didn't feel like a man. Like I wasn't showing up in the capacity in which I like to show up for my people around those times. And having grown up the way that I grew up, it's very important to me to show out for my family um in the holiday seasons. Make sure that they want for nothing and they have everything that they could ever dream of. That's my ambition around that time, right? So this year was weird. It was different. It was different for me. But even though I was so fortunate and so blessed to be invited somewhere where family was for Christmas, you know what I mean, have a beautiful dinner, exchange gifts, and share the moments with family, especially my mom. Like I'm a mama's boy all the way through. Um, can't really think of too many Christmases that I haven't spent with my mom. I won't lie. So this year was gonna be different in that sense because I was gonna be in Mexico for Christmas, but I ended up being back here. So the reason that I'm doing the topic around perspective checking is I was so blessed and so fortunate to be invited to that dinner and to take part in the festivities with those people. And I found myself looking at it in all the wrong ways. Like I was dreading every negative aspect of it. And that's what I mean by be careful that you're not turning a positive into a negative. Because as where I should have been eternally grateful for the you know what I mean, the opportunity to go and break bread and to share in the festivities. I should have been very grateful. But instead I was looking at it from a negative perspective of, you know what I mean, what I didn't have. Not the opportunities that were being afforded to me. Instead looking at the deficits, what I didn't have. How I wasn't showing up, how, you know what I mean, would have been ideal for me. And I actually found, like, it's always a blessing when you know what I mean, you become aware of, you know what I mean, a negative, turning a positive into a negative through, you know what I mean, through perspective. It's always a blessing when you realize it, and it's like, oh, okay, I can make that shift because like it is in your control. A lot of people, I think, would rather want you to believe that it's not, but like it is. It's in your control. Like how you feel about things is ultimately, you know what I mean, like molded by your perspective, and you have the ability to mold your perspective. So You do have control over everything. But I found myself turning what was a beautiful situation that was being afforded to me into a negative about, you know what I mean, just that negative self talk around like, oh, I'm not showing up with the gifts that I want for people. You know what I mean? Like I'm not showing up with this. I'm not that. I was also nervous because I'm being integrated into another man's world, right? In that container, in that setting. So it's like, okay, like it was tough on me and my ego to have to show up less than I would have liked to. Um, you know what I mean? So it definitely had the negative talk circulating in circulation. Sorry, but like I did a perspective check, and like I just moved into a place of gratitude and how I'm so fortunate to have somewhere to go and spend the holidays and to have a nice meal and to share that time with loved ones and people that you care about. So like I mean, I through intention and that awareness, I shifted the conversation in my head from a negative one to a positive one of extreme gratitude for for the experience that was about to be afforded to me. Um, and you know what I mean, like what a crazy energy change. But like I literally wrote down a note on my phone, like make sure you do a growth talk on perspective check, and literally wrote down like reference Christmas Day, and like make sure you're not turning a negative into a positive. So I just thought that it would be good to cover that one. Perspective is everything. Like you need to be aware of you know what I mean, what your perspective is on different scenarios and stuff, and what that's feeding into. Like, is that feeding into a negative conversation around the situation or the opposite? So I'm gonna get into the Q&A. I post a Q&A in my Instagram story 24 hours before, so that people can submit questions around the topic, so that in the growth talk that I can answer your questions. So the first question is, what is perspective checking and why is it important? So perspective checking is just basically checking in on the conversation, in like the dialogue in your head, and making sure that its origin is a place of truth, or are you telling yourself things that are feeding a false narrative? Like, so like perspective checking is very important, because like, you know what I mean, like you almost become like the like what do they call that in the online spaces, like a moderator. Like perspective checking is literally like moderating the internal dialogue. But yeah, moving to the second question. How can I identify when I'm turning a positive situation into a negative one? I don't know. Signs to look for is like overanalyzing, focusing on all the downsides, like the negatives, being dismissive of positive inputs that could shift it, like having like a narrow, slanted like one way of looking at things. Um, like so, and then like it's it's something that like you're not going to change in you're not going to change quickly. Like you're really not going to change this one quickly. Like perspective checking is something that I hope to make you aware of so that you can set intention and start to migrate into your life. It's not an easy one, considering 99.9% of people are on an autopilot program, so they're not even aware of the dialogue in their head, let alone are they monitoring it or trying to instigate changes through intention. So, number three, what are some techniques for reframing negative thoughts into positive ones? It's like you gotta. So, like reframing, like changing the way that you view a situation to find a more positive perspective. You gratitude. Find the things that you're grateful for. Like if you're having negative thoughts and you're trying to reframe them into positive ones, there's a good chance that you're looking at everything that is wrong with that thing, person, scenario, whatever. Um, so like shifting into a place of gratitude and appreciation for that thing, and you know what I mean, list like internally listing off like what it is that you're grateful for specific to that thing. Like that's a great way for reframing negative thoughts into positive ones, is gratitude and like appreciate, like by expressing appreciation. Number four, how can perspective checking improve my relationships? Through enhanced communication. Like by understanding multiple viewpoints, you can reduce misunderstandings. Like through that self-awareness, like you're now, like I said, like you're now monitoring, like, is this negative talk, is this positive talk? And your internal dialogue forms, you know, your emotions and how you're carrying yourself in the world. So it's obviously going to be beneficial and improve your relationships when you're intentional in the way of doing perspective checks, because like some people just never do. They don't even realize that they're being negative or positive. Like they're not even monitoring the internal dialogue at all. But once you're aware of perspective checking and you start to more diligently monitor um, what the conversation in your head is, it looks like, then that is going to greatly improve your relationship. You have to excuse me. Like my allergies are killing me today. Um, it's actually New Year. It's actually New Year's Eve day, 6 o'clock in the morning, and my allergies are just absolutely killing me. And the cool thing is like I have every excuse and every reason to not be here today, to not come and do what I said that I would do, and all the more reason to enact that tenacity and push through regardless of the feelings. It's like I set my intention. I'm going to rise to that occasion, regardless of the circumstances that are, you know, compiling around it. Okay, so number five, which is our fifth and final question: what role does mindfulness play in perspective checking? Well, like if you're not mindful, then there's no way you're checking your perspectives. Like they definitely go hand in hand. What role does mindfulness play in perspective checking? I would say if you're somebody who on a regular basis is monitoring that conversation and doing the perspective checks, that you are a mindful individual. I would say that they go hand in hand. They're parallel with one another. Like mindfulness, let's define mindfulness. It's being present and fully engaged in the moment without judgment. Now, I think that they're articulating like without judgment of others. I guess it also means like if we're thinking mindfulness, like it's also, you know what I mean, that you're not judging yourself. But I think that that could take on a framework with more of a negative connotation, but like yeah, like without judgment. Well, like you need to be analyzing, and therefore you're judging. Judging has such a negative connotation around it, as where like you do need to be analyzing. But apparently, that's the definition of mindfulness: is being present and fully engaged in the moment without judgment. Like some benefits, like from mindfulness when it comes to perspective checking, like it helps you recognize and automate, helps you recognize atomic negative thoughts and encourages a more balanced perspective. I like that. And it's just about like it's having the checks and balances and just being more aware of the inner dialogue. And like sometimes things are negative. You know what I mean? Like don't I don't want like to dilute it to the point where like people think that they can spin anything in any way. Like some things are what they are, and some things, some negatives. Well, like most negatives actually serve. They're just they're not like the most gentle teacher, but they serve. Like they really do. So having that more balanced perspective and anyways, like sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. But yeah, like mindfulness and and perspective checking are almost one and the same. Like honestly, like if you are a mindful individual, then perspective checking is probably something that you practice, whether consciously or unconsciously. Um, so hopefully that answers the questions. Like I said, like I'm struggling a little bit here today. It's really early in the morning. I'm running on like 4 hours sleep. My allergies are bothering me like really bad, and I have a chemical burn under my beard. Putting that out there. So just just putting that out there. But on that notion, the reason that I'm articulating that is that if you only do what you intend to do when it's convenient for you, you will never amass anything great or of notoriety. You just won't. Like if I only showed up when it was convenient, I wouldn't get much done, honestly. And like through intention and through molding my days and my routine, like I'm getting a better hold on that. But I see I just lost my train of thought again. But so don't. I just want to say it again. Don't only do things when it's convenient for you, or you will never accomplish anything great. That's a fucking fact, honestly. Like all of the people with notable successes that like are just like mind blowing. It's like how the fuck did they achieve that? I can tell you that they don't show up when it's only convenient for them. That's crazy. That's like saying like I only go outside when it's 30 degrees and sunny out. Well, fuck, you might not get outside a lot. But yeah. So I'm gonna cut this one off a little bit short. That's perspective checking. I just wanted to raise that point of awareness where it's like, okay, like am I turning a negative into a positive or a positive into a negative? Because through that perspective checking, you can make sure that the emotions that you're attaching to your thoughts are actually valid and like reinforcing the better side of things. You know what I mean? Like if it's just tearing you down, like a lot of the time, people's negative self talk like actually serves nothing. Like it literally serves nothing. Like they're just tearing themselves down day in and day out. It's crazy. So through perspective checking, by creating that intentional awareness, you can be more conscious of the you know what I mean, that internal dialogue. So hopefully that sets the stage for the awareness, and that you can now be more intentional, and you're basically like you just became like the hall monitor for your thoughts. Like you're the one who's going to monitor and regulate your thoughts because you're the only one who's ultimately in control of them. Like if we want to get down to perspective, like perspective shit shapes everything. Everything. Like it's all how I choose to feel about it, and that is your perspective. And you can rewire, remold your perspectives. They're in no way fixed. So I hope that this conversation was helpful to you. It is New Year's. This is the first growth talk of 2025. Really looking forward to this year. I am going to move into a place of service like I have never managed to in my life, and I'm excited about it. Like I really am. Like I feel like I just went through like the phase in my life that I just went through was like going to university. Like I just did all of the learning to set the foundation, set the stage for who I get to be this year. And I'm so excited about it. And I appreciate you guys coming along on the journey with me. And I hope that we can examine, you know what I mean, examine these topics and create a dialogue so that we can grow with one another. So until next time, let's grow together.